welcome to week 1 office hours. Hope you were able to join us for the meet and greet. Now we're getting into the meat. Oh, I get that, Lance. The meet and greet. Now we're into the meat of the course. I am so fun.
The meat and potatoes. That's right, Bob.
Coleman's 2015 Fall Edition. SBA 7A loan closer training. It ain't fall here, though, Lance. It's 97 in Southern California today.
Oh, my. It's 82 here, so it's not too bad.
Hopefully we'll catch up with you soon. Let's go through it. Please ask questions. We know you've sent questions during the week. You can ask during the presentation by using the GoToMeeting dashboard. You can raise your hand. We will bring you in live. We are still waiting for our first volunteer to even be on video to ask the question. We would get really excited about that. It doesn't take much to get us excited about loan closing. Lance, we've done this. This is the 4th edition of loan closing.
Yes, it is.
Most popular course, the most dedicated students, and you love this stuff. You love the minutia.
The closer course is so important, and I love this class. There are 2 times in an SBA loan when you have an opportunity to impact whether the guarantee is going to be paid or whether there's a repair or a denial. Closing, origination, but closing, most importantly, making sure that it's done properly and that everything, all the documents required and all the support materials there is a critically important time in the life of an SBA loan. If you close it properly, if the loan does default and a purchase demand has to be developed, it's going to be an incredibly easier job for the servicing department to put that together. I've worked on the liquidation side for an extended period of time, and no one appreciates a good loan closer better than I do.
And we're going to empower you. We want you to be the professional. We want you to be, I love the term, the adult in the room. When someone comes to you and say, hey, we don't need that, we can waive it. No. And you go, here it is, right here. Lance says I can't waive it. and
no waivers.
And that's going to save your bank thousands of millions of dollars. We want you to be confident to do that. We want you to say, hey, these are the rules. This is what we have to do. And if we want to get this loan closed, I need this stuff. And I'm not making it up. Here's the Bible. Here's the SOP. You can, for those of you who are new, you can adjust these screens, go to webcams. You can put us top, bottom, left, right. You can get rid of us. And you can send an email to joseph@colemanreport.com. And send questions to your Lance during the week. Lance, how many questions did you get this week?
We probably had in the range of 10 to 12 questions.
I saw a bunch of them flying through, so that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's go to the poll questions. What is your bank's requirement for DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, on loans under $350,000? I thought you were going to have an E. We don't have one. We don't have a requirement.
I should have had that, Bob. I'm sorry I missed it. I think that I was really curious because the SBA requirement is one of these answers, but my expectation is most banks have a somewhat higher debt service coverage ratio requirement.
And you're right. Interesting. 60% say we only need 1-to-1, but doesn't SBA be at 1.15 to 1, Lance?
On the under 350, it's just 1-to-1.
Right. And then higher 1.2. And also, you don't need a debt service coverage ratio if you score it, correct?
That's correct.
So that's
absolutely.
So that's why you should have had an E factor. Good.
I should have had. We don't need no stinking debt service coverage.
Now, is this a trick question? Is this a trap?
Well, I know what the response is going to be, but I asked this question just to elevate the importance of being a prudent lender. Right. SBA, over the course of the last 8 to 10 years, has pushed more and more decision making. It's requiring you as a participant bank to understand the SOP more now than ever. So, it's not a question where I'm looking to trick anyone or, I fully expect everyone to say, yes, I'm a prudent lender.
And they did.
But it's important to understand that understanding the SOP, understanding how to properly close a loan, understanding how to properly service a loan, understanding how to properly liquidate a loan is critically important in the environment we're in today.
You need to take a step back and say, does this make sense? If it doesn't make sense to you, stop and understand what's happening.
Well, the other thing, Bob, yesterday, I guess it was Tuesday, I lose track of days, or Wednesday, you made a comment. If you wouldn't do it on a commercial loan of similar size in your bank, why would you do it on an SBA loan? And that, in a nutshell, is the definition of a prudent lender. And I've worked on purchase packages before where the SBA asks, if you had a similar size loan, non-SBA, would you have done this?
Yeah.
And basically, they're asking you to say, I'm a prudent lender. Yes, I would have. But being a prudent lender is very important.
Well, now that I telegraphed the answer to number 3, we'll ask it anyway. But the purpose of this is, just because SBA has a requirement doesn't mean you have to manage to that level.
Outstanding, Bob. You hit exactly what my objective was for the question. I mean, the SBA requires a certain debt service coverage ratio, but just because the SBA says it, just because SBA says it's 1.15 doesn't mean that you as a participant bank have to remain pegged at 1.15. If you like 1.2, do it. If you like 1.25, do it.
Some lenders there say we need to be 1.3, and that's all your answers are correct. All your answers are correct.
Yeah, there is not an incorrect answer. I know that in my bank career, Bob, 1.2 has always kind of been the standard. Mm-hmm. But I think you really brought it home when you said just because SBA says this is the minimum, that's just like interest rates. And I know later in this course we're going to talk about interest rates. One of the most common mistakes that a participant bank makes is they always charge the maximum allowed SBA interest rate. It doesn't have to happen. You can go after the A-plus credits that require or demand. Bob, you could do a Wall Street Journal plus 0 floater if you wanted to. And I think one of the challenges, I agree. But one of the challenges that banks have is, for instance, on larger loans, Wall Street Journal plus 2 3/4 is the maximum allowed by SBA, and they always peg it at that. If you need a Wall Street Journal plus 1.5 to get the deal, it's okay. You can do that.
My comment on the debt service coverage ratio is it appears we will be in a period of rising interest rates shortly. Lance, I'm going to test your knowledge. Do you know what the highest prime rate was on December 19th, 1980?
Bob, I can't remember what the prime rate, my guess is going to be 18.5%, 19%.
21.5%.
Guys, just to share with you, I started working on SBA loans in 1983, and one of the first loans I did, Bob, was at 21.5%. Can you imagine repaying a loan at 21.5%?
Lance and I are not saying that we're going to go to that period, but there are economic cycles, and I think if you believe, as we all read, that rates are going to rise, then perhaps you want a little bit higher debt service coverage to cover the borrower's stress. Because remember,
or you at least want to do a stress analysis.
Yeah. I'm getting off on that, but that's
okay.
I'm going on a tangent. Thank you, Joseph. Bring us back to the script. Do we do SBA Express lending? Why is this? Why do you feel this is an important product to offer as a bank for Main Street?
Bob, I am a huge proponent of SBA Express lending. Every bank that I've worked for, I've got set up as an SBA Express lender. One of the most common complaints of a prospective SBA borrower is there's too many forms or it takes too long. SBA Express is a product. If you had a fairly simple loan without real estate collateral, say you had a $150,000 loan for a few pieces of equipment, you could potentially go from initial discussions to close in a matter of a few days, as opposed to taking a few weeks. So I think it's an important product to have. I can't tell you how many times that I do a bigger 7A loan, and then at some point I'll do a working capital revolving line of credit through the Express program for the same borrower. But I just think the SBA Express Loan Program, I'm all about customer service. The Express Lending Program allows you as a participant bank to provide better customer service to your borrowers with an SBA product.
And one of the questions in the 1920 that you or someone in your bank will be signing is, hey, how do we know that this company has enough working capital for the next 12 months? I always said that's crap because the Inspector General wants it to be 18 months. And you say, hey, we've offered an express loan. Or you just check, yeah. But the reason why, the rationale is we've offered an express loan and we're on the hook for 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did we learn? Oh, I got one more question. I like this question. Thank you for bringing it up. Are you set up an SBA 1? Yes or no?
And I guess my curiosity was just to find out, of course, Bob, SBA 1, as we both have discussed numerous times, is SBA's new platform for origination, servicing, and liquidation of your SBA loans. It's not fully functional yet, but the origination side is live for a number of areas, and I suspect by the end of the year, Bob, it'll be live in all 50 states.
I'm surprised at the results. It's a 2/3 say no.
Well,
I don't know.
Bob, it hadn't been released on the West Coast yet, and that could be part of it. SBA Express or SBA 1 has been released on the East Coast, the Florida region, and Region 6. And they're going to continue to roll it out to other regions. Part of the reason they're doing a staged rollout, my bank is set up on SBA 1. I've been playing with it, Bob. There are a few glitches that are going to need to get ironed out, and I think SBA didn't want to just pop out all 50 states and have tons of users. They want to use people like me to find a few problems so they can fix them before they roll them out there.
Or it's a statement. Is SBA 1 set up in Washington yet? I don't believe it is. Washington State?
I don't think so.
I don't think we're in Region 9 yet. And my guess, it'll be definitely done by the end of the year. I suspect it'll be done by end of October.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Week 1, what's my takeaway?
Well, we talked about the importance of the loan closing. Just wanted to drive home the fact that the loan closer is the gatekeeper to getting the guaranteed paid. I mean, you've got to have a good closer, a good servicer, and liquidator, but the process, I mean, getting the guarantee paid in full is not done unless there's a great loan closer. We talked about the prudent lending concept. We tried to differentiate between loans over and under 350 and spent a little time talking about how to structure an SBA loan. Bob had 2 meetings this morning before I showed up for office hours with borrowers, and those meetings were spent primarily. We had gathered basic information, presenting and discussing a proposed structure for those SBA loans.
And I just want to remind everyone that while we're doing office hours on a weekly basis, module basis, all 8 weeks are up online. You can do it at your leisure, but the office hours will be geared toward that week. A bunch of email questions. We've called them for this one. Express line of credit. Does SBA require that a plan to pay off the line of credit by the end of the guaranteed period be contained in the loan file? I wasn't sure if proof that the loan would pay out by the end of the guaranteed period was just for non-revolving loans, or is that included revolving loans as well? And I guess my addendum to that, Lance, is what happens when there's a maturity on these loans and we term out? Do we still have a guarantee in force?
I actually dealt with this issue, and one thing I want to throw out in structuring an express line of credit, you can do it for 7 years. I never do it for the full 7 years. I usually structure my express lines of credit for either 4 or 5 years, and that gives me an opportunity. If they're using the line properly, you don't have an issue.
However,
My experience says that probably a large percentage of small business owners will max the credit line out at some point. They'll pay the interest-only payments. You'll get to the end of the term of the loan, and if it was a $100,000 line, you're going to have a $100,000 balance. So instead of using the maximum maturity, I'll do a 4 or 5 year maturity and give me a little time to go to SBA for an extension of maturity and amortization of that amount.
I like that. Good for you.
I think one of the challenges that you run into is if you go ahead and extend it to 7 years, you get to the end of the loan and the balance is fully extended, you've got a much shorter period of time to amortize the loan on within SBA's guidelines. So I really like to shorten it up a little bit, get to the end of that 4-year period, request an extension of maturity, and amortize the loan if needed. Now, I want all my small business borrowers, I had this discussion on a loan I closed yesterday, I want to see the line going up and down and up and down.
However.
Yeah, a big however, all capital letters.
Email question number 2. I had a question regarding loan structure and purpose. In the PowerPoint, it has a maximum loan amount of the Express loans of $500,000. If I heard that correctly, it sounds like $350,000. Clarify, what is it, $500,000 or $350,000, Lance? What's going on?
It's $500 on Export Express, $350 on Regular Express, and this question was, I think, about Export Express, but your Regular Express loans are $350K. You can do up to $500,000 on an Export Express. And Bob, I'm going to plead the fifth on Export Expresses. I haven't done one yet.
I do know that regular 7A, the guarantee on export is 90%. Export Express, do you know offhand?
But that's a question I'm going to have to go to the SOP and get, because again, and I apologize to the class, Export Express is not something that I've dealt with a lot. So, I mean, I'm happy to get an answer. My gut reaction, Bob, is it's got an enhanced guarantee over the 50%,
I'm gonna guess,
maybe
I think it's 75.
75.
That's my guess as well, but we'll double check that. I'm a fan of Export Express. I look at the numbers. Not a lot of people do them, but they do get a 90% guarantee on regular 7A, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. What are we talking about in week 2?
Week 2, we're going to talk about the loan authorization, probably one of the most critical documents in every SBA loan, whether it's Express 7A, it doesn't matter. The loan authorization is the key to a proper closing of your SBA loan, understanding that you have to meet the requirements in the authorization or go to SBA with a requested loan authorization change and get it approved. But you need to have a loan authorization and those approved loan authorization changes that matches up with how you close the loan. So loan authorization, critically important. Talk a little about the credit memo. Credit memos are important because, especially on early default loans, if you have an early default loan, SBA is going to really scrub that credit memo to make sure you analyze the credit properly. We're also going to talk about if your loan authorization, if there's a change in use of proceeds, change in some aspect of the loan, how do you get that approved? What do you need to do to get that approved? And it's critical as an SBA closer, if there was a change and the authorization doesn't match up with what you're proposing to do, don't close the loan. Get it approved first.
Most common exception is the authorization does not match how you built the loan file.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about what or use of proceeds, what you can do with an SBA loan. And again, some of the things, and we'll talk about this later in the class, but the early default loan is one that really requires an excellent closing, and matching up the loan authorization with how the loan was actually closed, making sure that your use of proceeds matches up with the use of funds on the loan authorization. If they don't, make sure you've got an approval from SBA for any changes, and we talk about how to take care of that this week. And documenting those use of proceeds is critically important. So it's a very important week as a loan closer because these are really critically important topics.
Katie, of Stearns Bank has confirmed Export Express is 75%. Thanks, Katie. No.
That was my thank you, Katie.
I'm sorry. Katie, Katie is 75% through the course, the entire course.
Oh.
So, she's leading the course. Good job, Katie.
Hey, Bob, entertain them for about 60 seconds, and I'll answer the Export Express question.
Here we go. We got it. 90% we're both right. 90% for loans of $350 and 75% from $350 to $500. Thank you very much, Oscar. So we're in good shape. Great.
No, so if we have the answer, I'm going to quit looking.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and no one does Export Express anyways, which is unfortunate. Well, very good. Well, congratulations, Katie. Hope you all enjoy the course. We love your feedback, good and bad. And we will talk to you next Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks, guys.
Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend.